Bienvenidos!
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We missed you. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're happy to see you.
Hey, welcome back.
Well, welcome back. We missed you.
Oh, hey, welcome back to the library.
You know, I think the most exciting thing over this past year is that we were able to try a lot of things that kind of showed us things that we could be doing and might be able to be doing. If we would have talked a year ago and said, what is it going to be like a year from now? I would have never been able to predict it. Of course, I don't think any of us would have been able to predict what 2020 and early 2021 felt like. But it's really very exciting because we're beginning to slowly see people become more comfortable and more accustomed to reconnecting in the ways that they used to. You know, it's easier for me to tell you what services aren't available because really we've readapted and readopted as quickly as we could and as safely as we could. And the things that are really left right now, as we speak, we are working on getting our story times, our children's story times and our early literacy programming still up and running. And those, we're trying to correlate those with the beginning of the school year. And so hopefully we'll have the full slate of those, just like you were always used to seeing, right about the time the school year starts. The other one is the in-person programming, the face-to-face live programming that we do in our branches. We're able to pivot to virtual programming, and we're still doing a lot of that, but we are still working on getting that all up and going and running the way that it needs to, and so that'll come later in this calendar year. But other than that, if you used to do it in 2019 in our libraries, you can probably do it now. There's a running joke in the library profession that, you know, something slightly unusual happens and you go, well, gosh, we never talked about that in library school. Well, I mean, that's all this last 18 months has been, just crisis management, dealing with stuff that we never in a million years would have expected. But almost the very first thing that we did is we realized that there are issues in our community with the digital divide and rural broadband, where if you live in certain areas, you can't get high-speed internet. And as all of our schools and our workplaces were saying, stay at home, connect to the internet, if you don't have the internet, you're in big trouble. So one of the very first things we did is we sort of ripped down some of our access points in our buildings, put them in our entryways so that we were broadcasting our Wi-Fi out into the parking lot. And that was just like a real quick solution. But we discovered, you know, you drive by our branches like April a year ago, and you'd see people sort of hanging out in the parking lot. And that's what they were doing, is they were accessing that. So we actually got some CARES Act funding to actually get permanent high-speed internet that we put on the outside of all of our buildings. It's a permanent solution, you know, 5G high-speed internet available in all of our parking lots from right outside our buildings. And that was one of the very, very first things that we did. Also in terms sort of along the same lines, Jackson County actually gave us some matching money for another CARES Act grant, which allowed us to buy personal Wi-Fi devices, MiFi, that people could check out. And same sort of situation where, again, people live in a digital divide, they can't really get access, so they could check this out. And so we launched that entire program, these MiFi devices, and we've been growing that significantly through the pandemic, and it's something that's sticking around afterward. We also recently just got another grant where we're going to be checking out Chromebook computers to folks. We did the pivot to digital programming, and there's lots of other things, obviously. We did pumping up our digital downloads, you know, our e-books and e-audiobooks for people to do. Curbside pickup was another big thing that we did. That won't be going away soon. It's permanent. So some of this was discovery, and some of it was intentional, but maybe not this year. We were going to do it sometime, but decided to do it this year. We were able to carry on with our capital program. We didn't really accelerate our capital program. We just marched along as our partners were able to continue to get access to materials and contracts and contractors. And the big advantage of that is, we had to be closed anyway because of the stay-at-home orders, and we had to be, limited access anyway because of how everything was. I mean, that really is a true silver lining. But yeah, we do have 3 really interesting projects that opened during the pandemic. The 3 big ones that we really want to talk about, I think, in terms of that came online this year are Grandview and the Withers branch, formerly known as Liberty, as well as the new Colburn Road Library Center. So Colburn Road tore it down, started over, increased the visibility. We created 3 separate entrances on that building. So we have a partnership with Post Coffee. Actually, they run our North Independence Bistro as well as the Colburn Road Bistro. And they have their own separate entrance so they can open and get all those morning coffee drinkers before we open. We've got our main entrance, and then we've got our entrance for our Square One small business services. And then it's also got a lot of deliberate space. So there's deliberate teen space, collaborative space, there's a large programming room, story time room. There's also drive-up windows so that you can just drive up and drop your items off or pick up your items. So I was there about an hour after it opened, and it was already lots of people inside, lots of people using the space, and it's very exciting. It's already very well received, and it's less than a month old. Withers Library, which is the Liberty branch. And Withers, I think, is a really good experience of a design concept that we used, which I like to call bringing the outside in and the inside out. And so what happens when you go to the Withers branch, which you'll notice is the entire east side is glass, and you can see out into a field and a line of trees, and so it's just a really, really nice, calming, relaxing place that you can go. The other way that we sort of bring the outside in, it has a moss wall, which is a really nice sort of artistic feature, which is just really exciting. And so you begin to feel all of those positive things that you feel with nature when you're inside our building. But we also bring the inside out with this concept. So you can sit outside and you can have all the same internet access that you would have inside. You can borrow one of our laptop computers and set outside. And I think Withers is a great example of that design concept. So our Grandview branch, basically what we did is we knocked off the front of the building and just built out to the curb. And in doing that, really both sides of the build out are glass. And so on one side of the glass is where our children's library is. But also there's all these glass walls and moving traffic and things that are exciting for kids to see. And then the other side of the front is where our community room is. And so what's ended up happening is we've been able to redesign the building, relay out the building. So even if you're sitting at the service desk, you feel like our staff feel like they've got better control over the building. A little bit more square footage so people don't feel like they're on top of each other, which is a good thing. But more importantly, it's just a beautiful building. I mean, its curb appeal is just something that, I mean, when you drive by, you're like, you know that this is a library now. And you can drive into that location and really it feels like what it really needed to be, which is sort of the heart of the community, a place where people can come and gather and collaborate and work together, whether it's for school projects or to build a better community. The biggest thing that I learned was that our staff are amazingly resilient, and that our staff are able to do all that they need to do to keep focused on providing the service, and that our staff are focused on people, that we are truly a mission-driven organization. And to me, that was one of the greatest lessons that I learned, that when our backs are against the wall, we're going to figure out how to pull together and to help make the community a better place. I do think in terms of librarianship in general, throughout the country, there are really, really good librarians, and that we all, early on, just put our heads down and tried to figure out, How do we make our community a better place? How do we make our community a safer place? How do we give people better information? And how do we help each other so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel? And that's what I just kept seeing over and over and over again. But the amazing thing is that we never lost sight of what it is we're supposed to be doing, which is helping fulfill that mission and fulfill that vision.